Soccer in Louisville used to pay rent. Trophies raised in makeshift homes. That was supposed to change in April. Tonight, the USL Championship returns to a world indelibly different than the one we left on March 12th. One that asks us to reflect and listen and remain simultaneously socially distant. But at kickoff, a semblance of normalcy in an extraordinary new home. The debut of Lynn Family Stadium features the rematch of a legendary playoff battle with fans in the stands. Pittsburgh, Louisville, live right now. Some were first and others are back, but tonight the USL Championship is home. A brand new home, Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky, with 30% capacity means fans in attendance as opening weekend. The restart continues with a conference semifinal rematch, Pittsburgh and Louisville. A look at how the season will lay out now. A 16-game schedule, 13 weeks in the regular season, all leads to a 16-team elimination bracket, crowning a champion. These two teams not in the same group, however, 8 regionalized groups will help set the playoff field. More on that as we go along. But with that in mind, we say hello, everybody, and we hope you're well. It's been a long time. We're happy to have you back with us. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand, Tyler Terrence to join in a moment. Devin, watershed moment for this league. Half a decade in the making, Lynn Family Stadium is finally here.
I think people need to take a look at this situation and look at the positives. It's not just about stadiums. It's not just about the restart. This is about culture, championships, and all that being blended into one. It's something, Mike, to be honest, that's been delayed. It's long overdue. But look at the horizon. There is a lot more coming your way, not just this year, but in future to come.
Devin, let's talk about this rivalry because last year, a playoff battle for the ages.
At 2019 Eastern Conference semifinal, the entire culture that we just referenced for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds changed when Bob Lilly stepped on to the field at Highmark in 2018, taking over from Dave Brandt. There was a whole new vision put forth. What were they rewarded with? An Eastern Conference championship. The problem was they couldn't finish it off. Lou City once again went back to the final.
Del Piccolo, the game winner, the Louisville City captain with Tyler Terrence.
Hello. It's been a long wait since you guys returned, but you guys get to return in this brand new, beautiful cathedral to football, as John Hackworth puts it. What's it feel like to be playing in front of fans here at Lynn Stadium for the first time?
It's really incredible. You know, they've done such a good job on this stadium. The whole city's behind it. I'm glad we could get at least a few fans in here, and everyone's just really excited.
You're playing against the Bob Lilly team that historically is very good defensively. What's it going to take to break them down?
It's going to take a lot. It's never easy playing against any of Bob Lilly's teams, especially Pittsburgh. We know that from last year, so it'll take a lot.
All right, have a blast, Paolo.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's try, Devin, let's quantify success for Louisville.
This team only knows championships, Mike. Since their inception in 2015, they've been to an Eastern Conference final every single year. Now that, of course, culminated with the 2 USL championships in 18 and 17. Falling up short on number 19, but guess what? They got right back at it. Quality win to start the year, but it's a sprint to the finish. This is how they're going to line up. Look at the outside backs. Oscar Jimenez back at home at left back. Akil Watts, that could be a wild card. Pat McMahon out, but their main man, Del Piccolo, grabs the captaincy spot next to Speedy Williams and Corbin Bone. Oh, by the way, Cameron Lancaster's back in the 9.
And there is a Watts in the building for the opening of Lynn Family Stadium. Let's take a look at Pittsburgh's success. And it wasn't there for a long time, but Bob Lilly comes in. They're successful now.
Alluded to it. 2017, Dave Brandt, 8, 12, and 12. Not good enough. Bob Lilly comes over from the Rhinos. 50% of the games end in shutouts. They're 3-1-1 at Louisville, but here's the problem. They have yet to get a victory on opening day for Bob Lilly. They look to change it tonight. You're going to see a similar formation. You're going to see a similar style. A bunch of new names for the Riverhounds, though. Skylar Thomas comes back to the United States. He'll anchor that back line. Hunter Ashworth, rookie. Watch him. Familiar faces with Ryan James and Jordan Dover, but for me, it's all about the engine room. Rivera, Robbie Mertz, and Conrado Forbes. The steady Jamaican has always been key to victory, but can he push it to the 2 big boys up top?
Historically, this rivalry is precisely even. Tonight, a whole new chapter. The USL Championship is back. We prepare for kickoff. Back with USL on ESPN after this. This is Lynn Family Stadium. No more Slugger Field, no more Lynn Stadium. It is the long-term permanent home of Louisville City FC and Racing Louisville. It's Lou City and Pittsburgh. And with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, Devin, I think we're all excited to see this venue in its unmitigated glory.
Not just excited, ecstatic. That's probably a better word, Mike. I got to tell you, though, my personal favorite has got to be for the boys. The guys getting back to the action. Good look at Jimmy Ockford, who's going to anchor the back line. Van Kiazil, one of USL Championship's first 11, and the opportunity to get back to play. That's what you got to focus on here, because at the end of the day, all the glitz, the glam, the glory, you have a job to do.
Yeah, no question. The United Soccer League, all 35 championship clubs and its players stand together in support of diversity, inclusivity, equality, and compassion. The players and coaches will take their starting positions now, then observe 15 seconds, a moment of silence, as we all are united against racism. An initiative by the USL Players Association, the United Soccer League, as well as all 35 clubs. We're underway at Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. About 5,000 tickets are out for this game, and you can see a stadium that was planned to be absolutely packed for the first ever game here. Well spaced. Louisville in purple, Pittsburgh in black and gold. Then we saw a wonderful moment right before kickoff. The players coming to the center circle, kneeling for a moment. Players are using their platform like never before in leagues across the world.
It's beautiful to see the organizations and the leagues rallying around them as well, Mike. You stay relevant within the USL Championship. You have individuals within their clubs and then stepping up, and you have clubs like Louisville City brandishing some quality scarves. We saw San Diego Loyal in the Western Conference going with their, what do they call them, the fifth kits, one of their alternate jerseys.
Alternates.
Still one of my favorites, the Twitter exchange. I saw President Jake Edwards getting it on, approving it online. I thought that was pretty cool. And, you know, I think in this day and age, we just need to try and, you know, everybody band together, focus on one thing, and try and catch a common goal.
Abdou Jam runs by Bone. Oscar Jimenez steps forward, comes to Speedy Williams. And runs by Alexi Sawahi. The coaches in this game talked about a chess match, a roller coaster. The tactics of this simply fascinating. And will certainly be the case all year long with the new group format, where you may see a team 3 or 4 times.
Bob Lilly tried to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, saying that, you know, don't be surprised if you don't see us at the end of this thing because of how difficult our schedule is to start. I think, Bob, everybody's got a difficult schedule to start. Let's get that out of the way. Mike, in this game, I'll tell you what I'm most excited to see early on is the size of the pitch. People have to remember that this is a far cry from Slugger Field. Slugger 105 by 75. We've got a proper one now, 120 by 80. And that's something that Louisville City has taken criticism of in the past, saying, you know what, maybe this wasn't exactly what it was to help out their style. But they didn't like that. They want to be able to put it down and play.
Ownby helped to bring that down. Falls here for Del Piccolo. Good slide brought it over to Velarde. Taken back here by Bone. There was a foul. The referee, Eric Tattersall. Sometimes we forget the players haven't played in a while. The refs haven't reffed in a while. Last March 8th. And he's worked 34 championship games over these last 3 years.
And the problem is the rust that we talk about for some of these well-oiled machines. The referees don't get the grace period, do they?
No.
They're not exactly given a pass. Not by us and not by the players. Hard to believe they actually are human beings. We have to remember that.
We should note, speaking of well-oiled machines, Bob Lilly in fantastic shape. Looks like he's been working out. There was a tweet by Tony Walls. Devin, I think, lost a solid 20 pounds over the course of this pandemic as well as welcoming Kingston Raymond Kerr into the world with your wife, Casey.
It's maybe a bit gratuitous in terms of the weight loss, but I guess my life has officially been taken over by not just this beautiful game. Somebody else can now occupy some of my time.
Yeah.
You thought it was just you, Mike.
Yeah. Ownby stuck his foot in. Trying to get between a couple lines. Back to Swahi. Trouble brewing here. Akeel Watts gave it away, but was fouled. And now Pittsburgh firing forward and getting a shot away wide of Lund. First good look at this game belongs to Anthony Velarde, who scored 3 times last year in his rookie season out of Fresno Pacific.
Big German's got it the entire way, though, Mike. Yeah, some space opens up, but watch this. He's already on the near post, sliding to his right. Proper technique. You're going to want that from Mensah, and it's something that we've seen a lot of success from him in the past. That's going to be the question mark. How many times last year did we see Pittsburgh on those quick little counters, restarts, 2-3-man game, even a pop-off of a tackle and take advantage of it? Blue City has to be oh so careful playing out of the back. This is where they had a lot of success in the 2019 Eastern Conference semifinal. Took them a bit to finally hit the back of the net, but they most assuredly controlled the opening 45 minutes.
Comes to Speedy Williams. Jam. Watts delivers across, caught by Gomez. Notably out for Pittsburgh in this game, Mark Lidstrom, Patrick Bunk-Anderson, a couple of the younger guys, Steven Dos Santos, Tony Walls, and Albert Dequa unavailable as well. Not a full deck here for Pittsburgh on opening day. They dealt with injuries and inconsistency in preseason, felt like they had begun to turn it around. Picked up by Lund in the back. Away from Ownby. Recovers. And he's fouled. That was Velarde. So often, Devin, at Slugger Field, the conversation was you want to get those fullbacks high, you want to play expansive football. John Hackworth had his hands tied a little bit in a converted baseball stadium. Well, now in a state-of-the-art venue with grass all the way across, and it really is gorgeous, he's able to play the way he wanted to.
Mad scientist gets to dip into that little black book of his that we always hear so much about. Toying with formations, the personnel overlapping, this, that, and the other. You're going to see the same thing out of the Riverhounds, though. They don't exactly have the same philosophy, but the ideology is always the same. You want us to make sure you apply proper pressure. Bob Lilly felt like that was something that got away from him in the Eastern Conference semifinal. They let Louisville dictate the terms like this.
Here comes Ownby. This goes screaming away from Venki Azil. The Frenchman, French Guiana passport.
Just quick little pop-ups. We talked about it for the Riverhounds, but how about this? Brian Ownby, 3v1, getting away like that, have to do better. Skylar Thomas gets turned back around. Already a bit of musical chairs being played on the back line, Mike. We see Venki Azil has now moved into the middle. Skylar Thomas has tucked himself inside Jordan Dover.
Oscar Jimenez to deliver. Headed back out where it came. Run out. And Velarde held up there and threw his arm back, caught Jimenez. Velarde found it really hard to break into this midfield last year. You think about who left Pittsburgh: Nico Brett, Joe Greenspan, Kevin Kerr, the longtime captain, retired. Mo Dabo, Kyle Morton, Toby Adewale. These last few years, they've lost some major names.
And yet here we are once again.
Yeah. They keep building through their academy. They bring players up through the Riverhounds Academy. They go off to school. They come back and sign once again. You see players that you had never heard of come into Bob Lilly's system and become stars, whether it be in his time in Rochester or now in Pittsburgh.
They followed him, and for me, it's more along the lines of not just what you referenced, Mike, but the players specifically and their ability to play out of position. He can take guys that were strikers their entire career, turn them into an outside wingback, and convince them that it's okay. They don't have to be in the spotlight anymore.
That's why he delivers the diagonal. Thomas. And has snuck that through. Corbin Bone. Feel like he can rotate through the 6, the 8, and the 10, and that midfield rotation has become a hallmark of this Lou City team over the past couple of years with John Hackworth at the helm. 10 minutes in to the first game at Lynn Family Stadium. In the first weekend of USL Championships restart at home venues. Louisville in extra time. In the Eastern Conference semifinal, knocked off Pittsburgh last year 2-1 in a game where both coaches admitted for Pittsburgh, they did fatigue us. Louisville, we were trying to do that. Go down to Tyler with more on Pittsburgh's tactical setup. Hi, Tyler.
Hey, Mike. Devin, you talked a little bit about the wingbacks for Pittsburgh, and it's a far cry from what we saw in the Eastern Conference semifinal. The wingbacks are totally pinned back, and they're absorbing this pressure from Louisville. Bob Lilly urging his guys, making sure to not step late.
Bone crossing. Ownby tried to get a glancing header.
He's spot on with that. And Mike, keep an eye on that, because what's going on here is he's referencing Daniel Rivera and Jordan Dover. Ryan James out of comfort zone a little bit here. So they've stretched the middle a bit thin. And so what you're seeing is Robbie Mertz rotating to the outside a bit more, Ryan James and Anthony Velarde. They're coming up flat. That's allowing Louisville City to play through the channels in the middle, get the balls down into the outside, and it makes them easier to go from point A to point B. How do you counteract it? Got to step quicker, number one. The pressure has to be faster. And this is exactly what happened in the Eastern Conference semifinal. The difference, Pittsburgh was able to pick one off in the opening 10 minutes, and they were up 1-0.
Midfield, Ryan James goes back. You can see the Estopanol end there with the fans thankfully wearing masks and taking proper social distancing precaution. Wayne Estopanol, the original owner of this side, passed away in a plane crash in 2018, had a great vision. Ball all the way across, finds Ownby. Ownby cuts back through, and arriving Venke Azil to float it out.
Miscommunication all over the pitch here, Mike. We saw it on the 3v1 versus Ownby about 5 minutes ago. This time around, watch the back post run. Really good look at Cameron Lancaster's too, and Brian Ownby just continues it. No communication whatsoever. Tomas Gomez has to be better. You come off your line, 6-8 yards out, you come and collect it, young man. Bob Lilly brought him back for a reason, and that was not it.
It leads to a corner here from Jimenez. Punched away by Gomez. Speedy Williams, the Jamaican international. Out to Jimenez. Curls a decent-looking cross. He's trying maybe to catch Gomez off his line.
It's much better from the netminder. Bulked up a little bit in the offseason. It must be nice when you lose a goalkeeper like Kyle Morton. You can go get a two-time former Golden Glove winner in the likes of Tomas Gomez. Of course, that was his time with Rochester Rhinos, Bob Lilly. Here's some of the relationships that we talked about. Again, still so flat in the midfield. Look at this. Every single time they try and spray it wide. Bernardo Forms has got to have a conversation with Robbie Mertz, get everybody back on the same page.
Goes back to Sawahi. There's Watts. Jimenez. Becky Azil. Get back to Ownby. Ownby continues to be that electric player when he's healthy for Louisville, and the player that, kind of like Bob Lilly, has to have at the top of your scouting report. Collision there.
Just going back and forth here, Mike, on the direction. Ropapa-Mensah dropping back in. Jimmy Awkward was trying to make his case to the referee. He's frustrated. He felt like he jumped straight up. Correct. You still can't make contact with the player. Trust me, I've tried.
Some momentary hydration here, and for Mensah, they'll continue to check on him and make sure he's fit to continue. There are 5 substitutes per team, as has become common around the world. With a short run-up time, both these teams have had about 2 weeks to prepare in full team sessions as opposed to small groups. How big of an impact is that on you as a player?
Massive. So much so that when you talk to the coaches, and rightfully so, they're pairing that with these hydration breaks, and it gives you a whole new view of what this game is going to play out like.
Abdou Jam has Ashworth moving back, the rookie making his USL Championship debut. Got a piece of that.
Mike, you looked at the opportunity to take a look at your lineup, how it's going to play out. Some of these guys, most of them, aren't going to feel comfortable in their skin going 90 minutes right now. So you're not stepping on going, okay, I've got 3. We're going to reserve 1 for an injury. Tactically, we're going to see how these 2 guys play out. Now you can go with 5. And, of course, it's not just straight 5 substitutes. You have windows of opportunity to do that. So now you can go to halftime and it doesn't affect you. You can play them off and pair them in the second half. This now becomes a much greater Grandmaster chess match than anything we've seen between Lilly and Hackworth.
Oscar Jimenez, 7 assists a year ago, Defensive Player of the Year finalist in this league. Sought out Lancaster. Ownby. Ownby circles around, got the cross away. Bone rises up. Williams a drive and scores! The opening goal at Lynn Family Stadium, and the Jamaican International delivers.
The opening 18 minutes, Mike, we've talked at length about how much space has been readily available right down the center of the park. It does not matter if it's on the run of the play, on a restart, or off a quick little deflection. Speedy Williams can have a cup of tea and then some. Watch all of this open up. Beautiful flick coming all the way back across by Corbin Bone. That's one of John Hackworth's disciples from the early teens. They pride themselves on their set piece capabilities. And oh, by the way, Speedy Williams only scores bangers. Tucks this home, and just like that, they are back at home.
Only 1 goal last year. He is not a goal scorer by trade. But Speedy Williams, the winner of 3 USL Championship finals. Speedy not actually because he is so fast. It's a nickname earned through his father. They feel like he's taken such big steps, and he played for Pittsburgh's under-23 side while he was at Robert Morris, then comes to New York Red Bulls and then to Louisville, and has been absolutely critical.
And the royalty of the Red Bulls all the way back in 16. Speaking of only getting to championships, I'm just going to go from Red Bull to Louisville City, no big deal. Just continuing on the pattern. But look at what he's done for this squad. His ability to stretch the game. He played the 8. They wanted him to be a playmaker type role, drop back in. Doesn't matter if they sit 3, run 4 in the back. Speedy Williams always up to anything that his manager asks of him. And tonight he gets the opportunity to play alongside Del Piccolo, Corbin Bone. Corbin Bone, of course, joining us in the midfield now. And John Hackworth feels like Corbin Bone has the ability alongside the 3 of them to really do whatever he wants in that midfield, and they're going to need it. John looks a little different without the beard.
Yeah.
Gotta have a conversation with that.
I think that's playoff only, isn't it?
They're freshly shaven for national television. I get it, John.
Attack on here for Pittsburgh. And laid forward toward the byline, ripped across. Mensah was the player there in the middle. Velarde on the opposite side. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. Select, the official ball supplier of the USL Championship, many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. For the latest Select products and special offers, visit selectsportamerica.com. Jimenez pings it forward. Ownby striding ahead. Ownby crossing, chips up, and now comes off of James. Vera played it forward, taken back here. Williams sought out Lancaster. Lancaster on the move. Lancaster! Wide. Cameron Lancaster, who a couple years ago lit the league up for 25 goals, a league record, just off the mark.
And stylistically, up top doing his best Corbin Bone impression with the haircut. Going to get the lost in translation again. So much room to play with outside of the top of the 18. This is starting to prove problematic for the Riverhounds. They have to find a way to counteract that. The movement has to change. Kenardo Forbes was almost playing as a false 9 to start the game under Mensah. You can see him starting to drop back further into the midfield to try and help out here. He's the guy they got to get on the ball, right? He controls the entire tempo of this team because right now, they're barely getting from point A to point B, and the tempo, that's a big one for Bob Lilly. The tempo is totally off. He says they want to be the aggressor. And there's a difference between sitting back and giving possession, Mike, and chasing. And right now, they're just going side to side trying to get on the ball.
Bouncing ball, taken here by Louisville. For more on Cam Lancaster, let's go down to Tyler Terrence.
Well, it's no secret after 2018 that Cameron Lancaster likes scoring goals, and I think the only person or collective group that likes scoring goals more than Cameron Lancaster is Louisville City. Cameron Lancaster scored 25 goals, and he's scored more than that, obviously, since his tenure in Louisville City after being hurt early in his career. But when Cameron Lancaster scores, guys, Louisville City is 26-4-0. They have never lost when Lancaster finds the back of the net. The last time they drew a game when Cam Lancaster scored was all the way back in 2017. He's just the kind of guy, when he gets going, the whole team gets going.
What we just learned is that Tyler thinks in a European way, draws in the middle. And our graphics think in the American sense, draws at the end. But that's an incredible thing, isn't it, Devin? I mean, you're talking about a guaranteed result every time Cam Lancaster puts one in the net. Here's the restart. Can Lancaster get one here? Not quite yet. Pushing out of midfield, Velarde. Kenardo Forbes, one of the league's top players year after year. First team All-USL last year. Forbes. Can Dover catch up? He can't. There are fans in this venue today, as is the case in some, but not all venues around the USL Championship. There is a lengthy piece of literature, Devin, that the Players Association and doctors from Northwestern and Tennessee, U.S. Soccer, and an internal task force, the hiatus task force, and an external series of task forces that they've taken direction from, as well as how local authorities and officials choose to give their discretion. In this case, it's a 50% capacity for 15,000 plus, and they've decided to limit this to just under 5,000 fans. And you can see, for the most part, things look quite spread, which is what you're looking for.
I'll expand on that for you, Mike. And for everybody at home, I had the opportunity to pick the brains of some of the boys at the USLPA. Hearing the way that they spoke about the situation, I can promise you this. They were not about to step on the field and put themselves in harm's way unless they were 110% comfortable with their surroundings. So they obviously came to an amicable agreement, and now we've gotten sort of back to square one. I'm still really excited to see how this all plays out, considering we've gotten away from the traditional scheduling. 16 total games. Some guys have played 2, some 1. Pittsburgh Riverhounds didn't get on the score sheet at all because they didn't play a game opening weekend. And it's a sprint to the finish in 13 weeks. War of attrition, game on.
It's been 253 days since Pittsburgh's season ended last year with a loss at home at Highmark Stadium, another soccer-specific stadium on the Monongahela with maybe the best views like PNC Park there that you'll find. As this will roll all the way through and come back to Lunt. And here they are playing Louisville again to start the 2020 abbreviated season. And you get the feeling with Louisville, this is just the start, because when you talk with John Hackworth about his long-term ambitions for this club, an academy that can compete with anybody, anywhere, he's quite proud of that. It's deep in his background, given his time with the Union. His ability to develop young players, and the new USL Academy model is asking John Hackworth and soccer officials in general to think about the game differently, progressively.
Spoiler alert, Mike. 2015, 2016, they get to the Eastern Conference Final. 17 and 18, you win it. 17, there was a guy by the names of James O'Connor. Oh, I think he's back with the organization as well. You take a look at who they've brought in personnel-wise after the success. Some are new faces, some is old glory like James O'Connor, but everybody has the same vision. For James O'Connor, to be honest, I like what Brad Estes said about him, and he said, at the end of the day, he's what this organization envisions. Hardworking, blue-collar, organization-first mentality. And the fact that that message goes from Estes to O'Connor to Hackworth, that's not an easy thing for everybody to walk the same line, and they've been able to do it on a regular basis.
This is Ashworth going into Jam and picking up the first yellow card of the restart for Pittsburgh. There's good info on what USL Academy means. It's over at usl-academy.com, but the concept of one elite youth team as well as a larger structure around it with U15s optional on that group, U17 minimums and U19 maximums to help get rid of age banding, which can hold some players up. Ball across and nobody home. Well, Lancaster was home, but well over the house.
Nice to see him back and healthy again, Abdou Jam. He was a player in the 2019 final, Mike, that everybody thought could be a difference maker, and unfortunately going down with that shoulder injury that had been nagging him all season long. John Hackworth and co. forced to use a substitution. Never really got back at it. Of course, falling to the Real Monarchs. Looking for the three-peat, just escaping them. Just look at the ball movement, though, Mike. Everybody's so active off the ball. Easy at home to just watch that, but watch all the players in the purple jerseys. Little touch here. Oscar Menez moves all the way back across the field. Their ability to intertwine passes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody step to the next level is why they've been so successful. It's also why the Riverhounds are chasing so much.
Jam down, and Gomez drives this out to the halfway line. Mensah. And with Jam still down, they're going to have the athletic trainer make their way out. So they'll attend to him. As we approach the 30th minute. The opening goal in this one from Speedy Williams in the 18th.
Not a bad way to start the campaign at Lynn Family Stadium. Exactly how they drew it up, in fact. Well, you pray once again that this is not the shoulder we were just referencing. And he's pointing to his head, so definitely different. Bit of a respite.
Yeah.
Good look at Ryan James.
It's tough to see him go down in the first place. This is a guy who at UConn ends up getting invited to the MLS Combine. Danny Cruz was there, spoke with him for 90 minutes, really got to know him, and then they went and spoke with UConn's head coach, Ray Reed. They estimate about 10 times, and they thought they found a player that they'd really enjoy. He's a little bit older, longer in the tooth than your average college graduate, but he's come right into Louisville these past few years and looked quite good. He's able to walk off here.
Quite understanding as to why a lot of organizations at any level would probably turn a blind eye to that. But you have to look at the metrics, right? It doesn't matter if he's playing up top in the 9. They move him outside. He's very comfortable on the wing. How many times did we see last year, whether they were in a 4 or a 3-back, his ability to rotate up top and then come back onto the outside, Lucky M. Kasana. But anybody that marks 54 times, excuse me, we all know I can't math, 64 times in 77 games is doing something right.
Well, you see the eyelash lights that are really part of the architecture here. HOK built this stadium, and they've built plenty over the years. It's about 15,000, 11,500 permanent seats, and it's just the tip of the iceberg for what we're talking about for the future for the USL Championship. There have been great venues in the past, like RGV, that have opened. This is what OKC Energy has planned. We'll see them tomorrow night against FC Tulsa on ESPN2. Indy 11 planning out their new venue. Colorado Springs Switchbacks are moving out of Widener Field and into a downtown venue of their own. You're talking about 31 clubs in top 100 markets in the 35 championship sides, and a couple of them noted here. Phoenix, San Diego. Landon Donovan's San Diego side went away to Monarchs, the reigning champs. Knocked them off yesterday. DeMarcus Beasley trying to get a new team in League One into Fort Wayne, my mom's hometown, so I'm excited about that. And David Villa has already made some major moves with Queensboro FC. They'll start in 2022. But Devin, they already have a sporting director and a coach.
Nearly $1 billion over all of that, Mike, into 10+ communities that are being invested. For me, when you look at these 5 right here, what's the commonality for all of that? It's the passion. Obviously, the talent was there for them on the field. But when you step off the field, you really get an idea of what these guys are about. Landon Donovan said that for San Diego Loyal, their goal in their opening match, now we're going all the way back to March, but their goal and their ability to fight back into the game was a moment that eclipsed anything that he had experienced in his entire playing career. That gives you an idea of how deep this digs into their souls.
Well, there's a great Forbes article about why you'd want to get into the championship or League One at present. Fairly illuminating, something to keep an eye on.
You want to partner up and go get one?
I'm going to be calling Game of the Week for the rest of my life for that opportunity.
That's a generational thing, my friend, not just your life, buddy.
This ball bouncing through. Williams, the goal scorer. Oh, Pittsburgh seems somewhat in shock that didn't go. As the Purple family, the groove machine, or the drummers here, continue to pound away. The familiar sounds of soccer.
This line of confrontation for the Riverhounds starting to just drop itself back a little bit more. Ryan James still sitting underneath everybody, Mike, but watch Kennardo Forbes. We said how high he was playing, just under Mensah. He's dropped all the way back into the midfield now, and we want to get him on the ball if you're Bob Lilly. Rough little challenge down Robbie Mertz. And at the same point in time, the minute he drops in and gives you the ability to spread Mertz and Velarde out, but you don't want to crowd the wingbacks as well. Rivera and Dover still have to be willing to pressure a little bit. And sometimes when you watch them collect the ball and try and go the other direction, although they've been chasing most of the time,
Lancaster after it and latches onto Gomez.
there's the look up, and it's, okay, 1 and 2, where's the third? They can win the challenge, play the first ball, but the second and third runs aren't happening. Not enough overlapping, not enough communication. 35 minutes in, Riverhounds still trying to find their footing.
This Pittsburgh side that often plays three in the back, but those wing backs can drop in as well and become as sturdy a block. You'll find more on their tactical decisions here with Tyler.
Devin, you mentioned how the line for Pittsburgh continues to drop, but it's the exact opposite message that Bob Lilly has been relaying to his team for basically the entire game so far. He was just yelling at Thomas Van Kiezeel to push the line higher, but to your point, Devin, Thomas was basically saying that there's no room to push up because then they start to infringe on the midfielders, and there's going to be a lot to discuss in the Pittsburgh dressing room at halftime.
You could hear him yelling at Van Kiezeel, say, Tommy, you're late, Tommy, you're late. He wants that step quicker. Van Kiezeel's not far off. The problem is that's synchronicity, everybody going together. So if one or two of you step, that seems great, right? That doesn't matter because then you start to crowd everything. So you have to go as an entire formation. That's something, by the way, your Western Conference champs last year, regular season, Phoenix Rising, that's what they worked on. That's why they were so successful.
Forbes feathers a ball through, knotted straight down, and it'll come out for a corner.
Every single time Lou City starts to play out of the back, they're just dropping further and further. And as Tyler just mentioned, Bob Lilly says, no, guys, we want to go after him. This is exactly, to a T, what went on in that semifinal. We all know how that ended up.
It's Canardo Forbes. Velarde kept it. Forbes up the line. Floats back the other way. Ben Lunt pulls it in. Lunt actually played with John Hackworth's son, Morgan, at Akron. Morgan Hackworth now, after a year in Memphis, has moved out to San Diego to play for Landon Donovan. Slide in there, bit of a dangerous one. Ashworth is playing on a yellow card, and Louisville seems intent on playing these restarts as quickly as they can.
No shame in it whatsoever. Read this book before. It was another area of interest, going back and watching the game over again. Everything's so rapid, right? Put it down and play, put it down and play. With the miscommunication between Bob Lilly and his squad right now, you can't get them to move higher. You've got wrong rotation on one side. Robbie Mertz trying to link up with Canardo and Ryan James in the middle. These quick little restarts causing a bit more problems than you would normally see out of the Riverhounds. This is a team that can maintain it with the best of them. That's probably one of the main areas for them right now, my conditioning. Bob Lilly's teams always chase, run you into the ground. 90 minutes isn't an option. You're looking at 100, 120 that is always going to be in their back pocket. And that's not something they have at their liberty right now. You mentioned the 2 weeks to get back at it. Struggling with it. Yes, there's the hydration break, but I promise you, halftime is going to be a real interesting talk for those boys. Problem is, they're shorthanded. They don't exactly have all of the tools that they would like. Got some injuries, guys trying to get back in the United States. So his options are limited.
Here's the press from Pittsburgh, and Lunt plays it right down Main Street. Well, this is tough to play out of, make no mistake. Get a bit more creative with it. Watt's able to keep it going. Jam steps in. Bounces over to Oscar Jimenez. This game also on ESPN Deportes. I talked to him last year about just how much that meant to him and his family. So many Hispanic and Spanish-speaking players in the league. His family was in Mexico watching, which was fantastic, the final against Monarchs. And don't miss a minute of the action in 2020. Sign up today and get alerts all year long by following your club on ESPN.com. Search for your team and then click the follow button to keep up with the latest news and scores, plus get reminders on your team's next match. Go to ESPN.com now, click follow for your club. Lancaster. Continuing to grind away at this, Rivera. And Mensah couldn't hold up play. Final 5 minutes plus stoppage in this first half. Forbes left it off. Robbie Mertz on the move. Michigan Wolverine knocks it wide. Mensah on the attack, slides it down, and Loon able to fall on it.
Just another one-sided effort here, Mike, and it seems like we're harping on the Riverhounds a little bit. I don't want to. You know the talent that is on this team and what they're capable of. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow shirts, 4v2. Robbie Mertz making a run. That's the wrong run. You have to drag the defender away. If you're going to go down in the corner, you got to push away from him.
How about this? Mensah getting forward. Not on the wrong side of the net, thankfully. Danger moment. This press from Pittsburgh is not going to let up off goal kicks.
Just drag the defender with you, and this is what Robbie Mertz should have done the first time. Notice as he pulls to the side, all this space opens up. You're either going to get the ball directly across that comes square, or you allow the ball carrier to go 1v1. Got it wrong the first time, but it's much better the second time around.
Out to Jordan Dover. Step in by Ownby. Back from James. Well, some heavy breathing present.
They're enjoying their new home. How could you not?
Yeah.
We toured the stadium. Did you have a favorite part?
The old stadium was Scouse's house. That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
As this races forward. And there's the cross. Ownby trying to bring it down just outside of his reach. I know your favorite part. I can tell you, we got a look around some of the backroom dealings there, and Brad Estes walked us around. Racing Louisville and NWSL side is going to open up there next year is the plan. I think fans are going to fall in love with this place.
Beautiful.
What's your favorite part? You know.
You would initially jump to the 72-foot Modelo bar just under the Jumbotron right there.
It's not?
Well, I have to say, I was quite taken by the futsal courts just outside the gates.
Yeah.
I mean, stop by the Modelo bar, grab a water, a little lemon, go over, a little 3v3 action on the futsal courts, come back, watch Lou City. It's not a bad little afternoon.
No.
A matinee, if you will.
Return from Dover. Thomas. Mertz. James downshifts. Forbes. Get it out into the wide area. Rivera.
better, Mike, but look at the center. Canardo Forbes has now dropped all the way back in. 15, 20-yard gap. All you see is purple jerseys. And he beats one player, and this is what you have to do. You're going to go all the way back there. You got to make something out of it. Really go after these guys.
Mertz, this has to be the best sustained possession thus far by the Riverhounds. They play this over the top as the flag down. It's stabbed in. Count it, Jordan Dover. Square at 1.
King Kenny gets this right. This is what you've been looking for out of your playmaker. Canardo Forbes starting their line very high, and it's come back and back to the liking of his manager or not. Watch him. 40 yards from goal this time, and how about the overlapping run on the back post? Look at the pass off. They're playing zonal. Jimenez trying to drop it to Jimmy Ockford. Swahi doesn't pick up the run either. This is extremely intelligent by Jordan Dover, understanding that the backdoor runs wide open, just creeps in between them. First touch sublime, he can go left or right. Just a cheeky little touch in the bottom corner. This is where Bob Lilly's teams are at their best. It's a shame it took us 45 minutes to get here.
Ownby trying to get after it with Dover chasing. He only had 1 goal in 2019. Here he is scoring to try and help spoil the party at the new Lynn Family Stadium in Kentucky. Williams, the opposite goal scorer, knocks it out to Akil Watts. Loan deal for him nearly fell through last year, but they were able to acquire his services. An up and down first year. The native of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Watts, a guy who grew up training 4 or 5 years above his age group. And on the ball again here through Swahi. Lays it toward Bone. Forbes. Del Piccolo played at a different Lynn Stadium, University of Louisville's soccer home. Dr. Mark Lynn going to join us at halftime. His namesake stadium in the national spotlight for the first time, and a long time coming at that. Also have highlights and stats at the break as well. Jimenez. Velarde. Piccolo settled it, and Swahi knocks it over to Jimmy Ockford. Ockford, again, incredible when you consider how he got here. Played at Mount St. Mary's. They cut the program. He was a forward there, went to the University of Louisville, named Defensive Player of the Year. Guy that once upon a time played pickup in front of Danny Cruz when he was still in Philadelphia. John Hackworth was at the time as well. They thought about drafting him. In the end, finally get him in Louisville years and years later. Louisville looking to retake the lead late here in the first half. Pressure arrives. Bone gives it away. Mertz. Flick through. Mensah. Won't be for Jam. It's a two-man game. Jam. Corner, Louisville City. Those fans you see behind, they've been calling honorary owners, season ticket holders through the pandemic. Just shy of 5,000 into a building holding 15,000. You can bet if this opening had occurred in April is planned without a pandemic, it would have been packed to the gills. Ball across, Ownby got a piece, falls for Ockford. Away from him, Lancaster wanted to get a touch. Final seconds of this first half. Del Piccolo gets by Bone, settled by Lancaster, knocks it wide. Plenty of purple shirts in the box, ball lined. Comes over to James off the carom, and we've reached halftime. Jordan Dover scores in the 45th minute to respond to a Speedy Williams 18th minute first goal at this new venue. Williams has been there, done that, won the t-shirt for Louisville City over the years. And John Hackworth, the Louisville City coach, has to be pleased with coming out of this at 1-1. Down to Tyler Terrence with the Louisville City head coach.
Here with John Hackworth. Coach, you got the opening goals. You guys seemed comfortable in the first 30 minutes. Seemed to break down a little bit towards the end of the first half. What went wrong?
They switched up their press coming out of the water break, and I thought we were just really poor in our decision-making. We were playing way too slow. It invited their press, and ultimately we got burned by that.
What's it going to take to try to get 3 points in the second half?
I think we just got to go back to what we're good at, and if we move the ball right and our movement off the ball can unbalance them, I think we'll get some opportunities.
Thanks, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Mike, back to you.
So John Hackworth and Louisville City unveil a new TIFO. Purple smoke galore. Pittsburgh, as good a team as the East had last year. Williams, the opener. We'll have Dr. Mark Lynn, the namesake of the stadium, with us shortly.
Please, wear your mask.
Welcome back to Lynn Family Stadium. The sun is shining as you would have hoped for the debut of a new venue. Announced in September 2017, groundbreaking June 2018, grass installed September 2019, opens July 12th. And Dr. Mark Lynn is the namesake of the stadium. He's with Tyler Terrence.
I am here with the man himself, Dr. Mark Lynn. Doc, first of all, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We've heard a number of 41, 21. You want to stick with 30?
Well, it's the 21st anniversary of my 40th.
There we are. Okay, we'll stick with that.
So.
All right, Doc, so you've done so much for this community. This is not the first, and I'm sure it won't be the last building that's going to have your name on it. What does this one mean?
This is exciting because this is the family building. This is when we first got asked, decided to do it, there was no hint of doing this for the business. This was about the family. This was about being part of the community and being part of Louisville and helping it do better.
Being part of the community seems to be part of your DNA. You were born and raised here. What does it mean to just be a part of this community and see the beautiful game grow like it has here?
Well, I tell you, believe it or not, when I first got involved in soccer, I didn't understand soccer, didn't even like it. You know, it was that 1-0 game that was boring. I have gotten so into it over the years that I was actually watching Tottenham Arsenal Premier League before I came here. So, and a little bit of the Italian League. So it is a beautiful game that once you get into it and you understand it, it's great, it's growing, it's fun to watch, everybody can get into it, and it's a huge part of the city, which is awesome.
This isn't an ideal opening for Lynn Stadium. We were expecting to have more than 15,000 here, but what does it mean to be able to open it with fans amidst what's going on?
As I told guys all week, first step towards normal. This is it. We're starting to get there. Just play it right, be safe, wear your mask, do what you got to do, and then take it slowly. We'll get back to normal. We would have this place rocking with 15,000+, I have no doubt. But you know what? We'll take what we got.
What do you think of the Speedy Williams opening goal?
Oh, you know what? It was fantastic. So, right foot, cross into the left. I loved it.
Awesome stuff. Dr. Lynn, thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for our interview with Dr. Mark Lynn. When we come back, we'll have highlight stats and much more.
Welcome back to the USL on ESPN. Louisville City scores the opener. Pittsburgh responds shortly before the half. And Lynn Family Stadium has not just its first home goal, but its first road goal as well. Welcome back, everybody. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Gosh, we're happy to be playing soccer again. Devin, what did you make out of that first 45 minutes?
Interesting. I wouldn't exactly call it a chess match like these two managers would normally allude to, but look at the overall metrics. Neither one of these teams are really clipping at a high rate, hovering under 80% possession. That's not a good look, especially for Bob Lilly's squad. And how about their guys? No one touched the ball more than 20 times. Lou City, Cameron Lancaster's only touched the ball 6 times, so as many opportunities that they had on the wings, they couldn't find their talisman up top. And it started early, right? Opening 20, 25, 30 minutes, you really saw a lot out of Louisville City. Well, they're finally rewarded. Makeshift little restart. Brian Ownby tries to knock this ball down into the middle. This is all about the blue-collar work that this organization represents, and it's in the form of Corbin Bowen. Lovely little touch over the back. Speedy Williams, bottom corner. History has been made.
Wonderful celebration at that. Move forward to the 41st minute. We saw Pittsburgh really get into this game.
We told you. Bob Lilly did not like the line, and I said they kept retreating. They kept coming back. Canardo Forbes, what happens to playmakers? They go find the ball. Frustration sometimes takes over. Now, that can be a fault, but this time it was a fury of chances right at the end of the first half. They are rewarded. Jordan Dover makes a brilliant run off the backside. King Kenny just slips it in. Miscommunication on the back line. Even Stevens going into half.
Yep, mission accomplished for Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a side that historically is even with Louisville in the all-time series, but also at Louisville. Quite rare. Here are your halftime stats. Possession-heavy Louisville.
Was over 70 at one point in time. And Pittsburgh's starting to find their way in this match, but as Canardo starts to pull himself back, now you have to have a conversation with your midfield. Where does everybody go? Louisville City, efficiency is where their success has been. John Hackworth told you, we were not good enough to close out. You have to change that come in the start of the second.
So we've got a second half of soccer coming up. Who's going to take home a win in the first game of the restart? Second half after this. across the country, healthcare heroes are working every day on the front lines to fight against COVID-19, and the fans in attendance are sharing a 15-second round of applause for those healthcare heroes in Louisville and nationwide. Our continued appreciation and thanks to everyone who helps keep us healthy and safe. Underway in this second half of play at this magnificent new home. Louisville City taking on Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Pittsburgh, the #1 team in the Eastern Conference last year, turned their season on a dime. It was death by 1,000 draws early on. And once they turned the ship, an incredible finish to the season, one in which they felt a chance to win a championship ran away from them. Is there a chance here? Opening goal in the second half inside 30 seconds. It's Mertz.
Got your popcorn? Strap yourself in, because this is far from over. Robbie Mertz, I have been high on this kid since his ability to exploit the midfield at Shaka Daly and the Michigan Wolverines. That was a 4-back. He's transitioned so perfectly into this Bob Lilly system, and watch him just take off. Always understanding his surroundings. Mensah recognizes that the run is coming. Look at the Lou City backline once again. Everybody's scrambling. Communication falters once again. Slight misdirection. The big German cannot drift back across his left. We're going to have to work on the goal celebration for Robbie Mertz, but I'll tell you what, this is a dream start for the Riverhounds in the second half.
Out of Upper St. Clair High School, Robbie Mertz. Question going into Michigan was simply good enough to be D1, and here he is, really a starring role for his hometown club.
How crazy is that, Mike, thinking you're the Gatorade State Player of the Year 2 years running, and they don't know if you're ready for D1 soccer? Goes to Michigan, proves all the doubters wrong, and his relationship with Bob Lilly far exceeds the Riverhounds and his professional tenure. It goes back to a year or two prior. He actually had the opportunity to train with them a few times. Bob Lilly got a bird's eye view of a young star in the making. Ends up getting drafted by the Rapids, 76th overall last year. Didn't sign with them. One man's trash, another man's treasure. Robbie Mertz made his home right away, took off. Brother Ryan actually playing for Delaware. I asked him if he had any more of those floating around right now, and he said, you know, there's a couple guys we bring in to train with us, but I wish I could get my hands on more Robbie Mertz in this world.
Well, set piece coming here. It was quite a contentious argument with the referee, Eric Tattersall. Neither allow Bone or Jimenez to hit this.
Watch the quick little dummy run right off the elbow, Mike. Sometimes they leave a little late runner. They'll motion in the box, send one striker, stop. Second one comes back up. Trailing run, top of the 18. Worked before.
It's Jimenez. There it is. And it's lifted just high. Speedy Williams coming in as that trailing runner. And the sun appears to be pouring in down to that end, which could make it a little bit more difficult to see straight on for Tomas Gomez.
Normally they'll send a runner first, then Jimenez will hit it. So that's a different look. A lot of times there's a pause, and then they allow the second runner. Speedy Williams already showing us that he can pull it from distance, this time from a set-piece opportunity.
Leads now to a Louisville corner. We could be in for a wild finish. Ball bouncing down atop the 6. Ownby tried to curl that down and fell behind it. Let's go down to Tyler Terrence, who caught up with both staffs at the break.
Guys, about 90 seconds before Robbie Mertz put in the opening goal, I got a chance to talk with Bob Lilly, and he said basically what came to fruition is that they needed to put more pressure. They needed to come out of the shell, and that they couldn't survive another 45 minutes of what went on in the first half, and they needed to give Rapapa Mensah a little bit of support, and he certainly got that. As for John Hackworth and Louisville City FC, he was really upset with the cheap giveaways, albeit few and far in between in the first half, and he needed more out of his midfield. We'll see how this one plays out, but Mike, I have to agree with you, especially given what I'm hearing on the touchline, is that this is going to be a wild final 40 minutes or so.
Tyler will be happy to know that Phoenix Rising defeated LA Galaxy 4-0 last night over on ESPN Deportes.
Rich get richer out west, huh?
Phoenix gonna Phoenix.
They get deeper. Santi Moar sighting. Nice to see him back in action.
Yeah.
Didn't see him week 1. Jack Barmby still making his way back. Former Portland Timbers man and San Antonio FC.
Forbes waits, sought out Mertz, who waited for the second ball. Forbes gets by Jam. And for what it's worth, was it Colorado Springs in New Mexico?
Oh boy.
Check out the goals from that game. Salim Muhammad may have had the goal of the year in this league.
In this country. I'll say it. I'll say it. At me. I don't care.
Uh-oh. Lunt trying to come out. He's close to being rounded. Won't get there. Mensah launches it across. Net is empty. Another one. Velarde. And Louisville ahead in the 40th minute. 3 unanswered. 3-1 Pittsburgh.
There's the mistakes. Just like that, Mike. Tyler said few and far between. The problem was as they started to multiply as the game went on. Okay, so you're playing out of the back. This has got to be a ball back to your goalkeeper. Why are you coming square at the cross of the top of your 18 when the striker's right in front of you? Ping this ball out over the end line. Stick it to one of your midfielders. Do not let it fall right to the opposition. Instead, you gift them a golden opportunity. This isn't training ground stuff. This is stuff you learn when you're 9, 10 years old. Just easy to stick it in the back of the net. It's like playing with a cone.
Well, Louisville's got quite the hole to dig out of now, and if you're Pittsburgh, you are showing why you were the #1 team in the Eastern Conference and torched the conference in the second half of 2019. And this pressure, Devin, can be absolutely stifling. You said it, inside the first 20 minutes, they need to push a little bit higher. And once they did, is Lunt placed into pressure.
I was yelling at him from up here. Obviously, they couldn't hear me. Bob Lilly yelling at him from the pitch. They weren't listening. You could figure it out exactly what needed to be done. But understand that, Mike, again, you've only had 2 weeks preseason. You've got a couple rookies on the roster, some on the field, and some guys that, have a double-digit appearances, that's it. Got to figure out how to step outside of your own skin. You come into this ridiculous arena that is Lynn Family Stadium. It's the restart, trying to find your way in this crazy world that we live in. It would be easy for them to perform the way that they did. But how about the recovery? You and I talk about slow starts all the time, and now, they've just managed to find their way back in. A couple mishaps from Louisville City that we're so unaccustomed to seeing. Don't sleep on Lou City, though. Watch them. They'll see these games out. They know how to fight back with the best of them.
But to do it against a Pittsburgh side that's been the league's stingiest in recent years, maybe too tall an order. Half their regular season games in the last 2 years under Bob Lilly have been clean sheets.
Just not even fair.
No. And you think about Pittsburgh, they start with 2 against Red Bull, 2 against Indy, 2 against Union 2, their in-state rival. It's Mertz on the move. They've made it clear they can't afford to have a couple tough matches at the outset and potentially be out of the mix after 7 games in this 16-game sprint over 13 weeks.
The difference is their closing schedule. They only play 1 playoff team from 2019, Red Bull 2. I understand they have to do it multiple times, but it gets easier as the route continues on for them. But spot on, you got to go out and get the work done early. You set a precedent within this group. I think it's easy for us to forget that all the results back from March, they still stand. Pittsburgh Riverhounds chasing everyone as they were one of the few teams that did not get the opportunity to showcase themselves week 1.
Luke Spencer comes on. Has bagged 27 goals over the last 3 years, including the game winner in the USL Championship final. in 2018. Napo Masoso comes on as well. Grew up 9,000 miles away, but went to St. Francis High School in Louisville and then on to the University of Kentucky.
Watch Speedy just drop back a bit further now, Mike, with the departure of Del Piccolo. You'll watch the backline switch as well here. Don't be surprised Lexi Swahi starts to come more central. And they can turn this into 4 pretty easy, but there's another giveaway. Again, this is not something we've seen out of Louisville City in the past. Blatant as well, in their own half. You want to do that, have a little fun in the offensive third and make them work for it. 20, 25, 30 yards from goal, that's a no-no.
If you missed the first few minutes of this second half, goal inside the first minute after the break, and another one 5 minutes later. Louisville trying to respond as Pittsburgh has grabbed 3 goals after Louisville opened the scoring in the 18th. Cameron Lancaster is down. Lancaster tore his ACL in his right knee going back to 2015. Matt Fondy went on to set the league scoring record while he was in the stands. He scored his 25th late in the season in 2018, and that ultimately got him the record.
Unlucky that the referee doesn't blow the whistle here as well. Studs up the entire way. Little touch of the ball, but it's full boot-to-boot contact. He's had some ankle injuries in the past. Keep an eye on Cameron Lancaster.
Corner Louisville, header bouncing wide. Jam at the back post.
You're going to see a very different looking Louisville City. The final minutes of this match, Mike. 30 plus to go, I understand that. Look at the sun in Tomas Gomez's eyes, by the way. He talked about it, but there's a much better view. Swahi will sit in the middle. Jimenez and Akil Watts will spread things out. With Speedy Williams dropping in front of him, that's what I talked about, where they'll be able to play 4 if they want to. And remember, Akil Watts very comfortable moving into the middle if they wanted to overload as well. But with going 3 at the back now, Masoso, Corbin Bone just in front. Luke Spencer will play. He'll try and play next to Lancaster. What he'll end up doing is probably dropping back into the middle a bit more, try and usher this attack going forward. And Abdou Jam, being that Swiss Army out on the right-hand side, is going to become much more of a wing player and try and overlap up top. She didn't think it overloaded to 2 and 3 men going forward.
Velarde hauled down by Masoso, and a quick restart for Pittsburgh. $4,850. You see it there on the second largest video scoreboard in Kentucky. That may be for professional venues. The other, Churchill Downs. It's a pretty good video board.
This is a totally different team there, Mike. Just from behind, pulling in. Pittsburgh Riverhounds much more efficient on the ball here in the second half. Look at how organized they are, going the other way. First half, everybody was laying chase. This time, there's intent every single time they drop back. Look at every single runner accounted for. 1v1, the zonal pass-offs, all textbook Bob Lilly. Oof.
Hit by Bone. They carry him out for a corner, and a bit of a high boot there seemed to catch Masoso.
Interesting how a switch can just flip for these guys, right? 35 minutes into a match, wouldn't even know that these guys were the regular season champs in 2019, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, but everything has changed. The emotion, the intent. Promised you halftime would be fun to be a fly on the wall for that one with Bob Lilly. Robbie Mertz more active. He actually made his debut against Louisville City last year, back in April 2019. Ryan James much more comfortable in the middle. Of course, Canado Forbes seems like he can do whatever he wants now. And Lou City trying to find a way to wheel and deal, 30 minutes to go.
So Danny Rivera went down there and hobbles off. Mentioned it in the first half, far more applicable in the second half. 5 subs per team, so keep in mind. Ball towards Spencer. As we've reached the hour mark here. We mentioned briefly the group structure of the USL Championship this season. And of course, you'll see the vast majority of games on ESPN Plus, as well as a number of games on ESPN2 and ESPN Deportes over the next 2 weeks. So check your local listings for that. Go over to USLchampionship.com. But it's the top 2 in each either 4 or 5 team group that finds their way through. So for Pittsburgh, that means the Riverhounds are with Red Bulls 2, finished 6th, then Loudoun, Union 2, and Hartford, the 12th, 16th, and 17th place teams in the Eastern Conference a year ago. For Louisville, it's Indy Louisville, which means there's a little added bonus to your regularly scheduled Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest. St. Louis and SKC2 finished 18th a year ago. St. Louis finished 11th, a point out of the playoffs. So something to keep in mind as we move forward. Jam flowed way too far for Lancaster. Dev, what do you like about the group situation that has been plotted out? Obviously, geographic comes first, trying to limit travel, but there's some tough groups.
Tough groups. You want me to stay in the East, or you want to do big picture?
Whatever floats your boat.
How interesting that Lou City in this beautiful new venue, they get 11 home games. They start 8 here, by the way. Indy 11 is in that boat as well. They get 10.
Jean playing Lancaster in a simple, comfortable save for Gomez.
The balance seems to be, you don't want to say off, but some teams electing to not have home games. So you have to understand that. It's easy to play, Monday morning quarterback or armchair analyst because of what the league has done. But you have to understand there are so many variables floating around right now that people don't know about. Sporting Kansas City 2, one of them. And you kind of tilt your head a little bit when Loudoun United says, Lou City, go ahead, have another home game. And Group H in the Eastern Conference is an interesting one. You got the Tampa Bay Rowdies, Charleston Battery, Atlanta United 2, Miami FC. Everybody else, for the most part, you can kind of take a look at the East and go, that should be 1-2 and shouldn't be an issue.
Dakota Barnathan has come on, and Danny Rivera's day is done. Played a workman's role in midfield in this affair. Meanwhile, Niall McCabe comes on for Louisville City. Corbin Bone comes off. And Niall McCabe, who's been here from the beginning, takes the field. Devin, you love to see it.
You have to make a change right now in the midfield. And they've rotated positionally every single player now. Now it's McCabe, Speedy, and Mestoso. I'm actually keeping an eye on Dakota Barthathan right now. A guy who primarily employs his trade on the back line, coming in for that wing-back position. You wonder, are they going to push Hunter Ashworth, the rookie, out on the outside? You can pull Ryan James over there and move one of the other two down into the middle. Bob Lilly gets the best out of all of his players because it's not just the passion and their ability to run for 90-plus minutes. It's their understanding of the overall tactics of the game, but how their manager wants them to play. We gave him and applauded how good he is at pushing you from up top down into the middle to the marking back position, and you're about to see that right now. The question is, who does he want to rotate out as you see King Kenny saying we need a change?
Yeah, Hunter Ashworth is down. He played in the U17 and the U20 World Cup for New Zealand. And Canardo Forbes, yes, is motioning to the sideline consistently. A change is going to have to come here. And this is a really short bench for Pittsburgh as it was. If you followed this league for a while, the names like Albert Dequan, Tony Walls, and Steven Dos Santos probably ring a bell, but also they're high on Patrick Bunk-Anderson and Mark Lindstrom as well, and neither of them are available. So you're talking 5 guys who could have contended to start potentially this afternoon who are out, and it really doesn't matter in Lily ball. The Riverhounds don't seem deterred one bit.
Good news is, in the 65th minute, you're not looking down your bench looking for Steven Dos Santos because you're up 2 goals.
Correct. Dev, what is it about Bob Lilly's teams? And he's been at this for 20 years as a head coach. Why are his teams so consistently good at finding guys you haven't heard of being the stingiest defensive team in the league? Why?
Well, number one, it's scouting. You have to understand that. We reference John Hackworth as the mad scientist, but this guy, he invented the trade. You know, he sit back and go, that's fine, you want to play with your concoctions over there. I'm the ultimate chemist, so pay attention to me. So he understands, number one, the region that he's in. He's great at scouting local talent. Also guys to buy into a program, because it's real simple to say, this is the way we play. To vet a player, more specifically the person, he can get into their background and say, okay, if I dig deep here, if I push you there, are you capable of achieving this goal with us? That's why they're successful. Every single player that he brings into his camps has bought into the ultimate goal.
Mark Forrest and Danny Griffin stepped on for Pittsburgh. Griffin out of Providence College. Great program there. Featured with Julian Gressel in his early days. Mark Forrest, born in England, came across to the U.S. at 5 years old, Pennsylvania native. Played for that great Reading United side in USL League 2 that pushes out pros year after year after year. And you talked about finding that local talent. James O'Connor is going to be tasked with finding that talent moving forward in Louisville, the younger talent per se. Also working with their NWSL franchise, but really the focus on their USL Academy group, both on the boys and the girls side. Championship winning coach and player in the USL Championship. James O'Connor had a lengthy career in England, playing at some of the highest levels. This will roll all the way through and skip out. Leonardo Forbes experiencing CONCACAF Champions League. Gets into Bob Lilly's tutelage.
Would love to play with him.
Yeah.
It's similar to what we were talking about a second ago about Bob Lilly and getting guys to buy in. Canardo also possesses that instinct to just go and get whatever he wants. You look at the goal that they scored. Getting frustrated, not enough distribution into the middle, positioning was off from the entire team. And sometimes you need a guy like that in your locker room to say, okay, guys, follow me. I'm going to lead by example. Steps out, beautiful ball up over the top. Just has a ridiculous engine, always working till the end of it. Got the same thing on Lou City, but there's that it factor for some of these guys on the pitch. And Canardo Forbes is one of them.
Ownby got his pocket picked. Just ahead by Barnathan. Velarde goes down. feet of Loon. Loon fouled by Forrest. Much weight on that from Sawahi. Speedy Williams checks back, knocks it out. Corner Pittsburgh. And Devin, you have to say, the last 30 minutes of this game has been a real masterclass. And once they turned the pressure up and really attacked on those goal kicks, you've started to see the shift in momentum. How interesting now that they're up 2, put 3 in the back of the net, and guys are getting into their more familiar places. Ryan James, who was playing holding midfield the entire match, has gone back out to the wing-back position. It's one of the best in the league to do it in this 3-back style system. Cross lifted and the header off into the standing supporters section. There'll be another. Mertz will take this corner. When he was at Michigan, he actually played against the Riverhounds at Highmark and scored for Michigan. Stay with you on that one. 1 + 1 is 5. I got it. Good ball. Dover knocked it wide. Mertz. And this falls to Lunt with a late slide in by Forrest to make sure Lunt's all right. It's a really dangerous ball on the outside. They get away with one. Lucky that initial spread out onto the far flank didn't get them into trouble. Jordan Dover's done it before, right? He scored in the 45th minute as well. And if you're Hackworth, you have to make the change going down by 2 and spread yourself thin a little bit here. But watch Speedy Williams trying to be this outlet pass. Great job by the Riverhounds closing down the passing lanes. He's dropping back, coming more central. They can't find his feet, though. So they're playing this long ball up over the top. Cameron Lancaster's not a hold-up striker. He's trying to run off of Luke Spencer there, but you want Spencer to try and bring this down, move it down into the channels on the right or the left, and let Lancaster get the ball out in front of him. This A to C to G isn't working. Gomez again. Hasn't been much of a sniff so far for Cameron Lancaster. Last year, an injury-plagued season in Nashville, and then sent on loan ahead of this season. They had his resume in hand from his time in Louisville, but really they had their eyes on him the back end of last year, carrying into this year. This will run out. Williams. Ownby. Ownby drives the cross. Spencer collects. Tried to flip around on it. Watts. Speedy Williams seeks out Niall McCabe. McCabe lifts. Lancaster's target. Peppering the penalty area with service that Pittsburgh's been able to handle with ease. Now Jimenez. Forrest. Somehow James, good interception. Antoine Holpino. Slide in a dangerous one. Annie Griffin pleading his case. Free kick, Louisville.
Good way to set the tempo in your professional debut. Stuck in 10 minutes into your appearance. Ladies and gentlemen, nice to meet you. Let's see if the specialty of Lou City from set pieces can shine through here. Pittsburgh Riverhounds are putting on a clinic with their defensive shape.
Williams the fulcrum to get it to McCabe. Floats. Another ball knotted out. Jimenez. Goal for Louisville could begin to open this thing back up, but Pittsburgh at their absolute best trying to salt away a game late. Ball ahead, off the mark by Sawahi, the center back who's pushed way up off set piece and service after service. And the offside flag up as well. Reached the hydration break on a sunny and hot day in Louisville, Kentucky. Show you how we got to this point. As Louisville jumped ahead in this game with the debut goal at a debut stadium. But Pittsburgh has responded with 3 unanswered. Opening goal of this affair, Speedy Williams. A shred of history here.
Beautiful touch off the chest. Great flick by Corbin Bone. Right down in the bottom. How about the response, though? 10 minutes to go. Well done here. Jordan Dover had pretty much employed his trade on the back line. Understand the celebration is reserved. They go again, and they go again, and they go again. They just applied so much pressure. Robbie Mertz makes himself felt, somersaulting all the way to the second. And Velarde, he's going to have a little fun as well. It's a stretch of 6 minutes split between the two halves where Bob Lilly just said, here, hold my water and watch this. They go the other direction. Everything that you've gotten out of the Riverhounds has been textbook in their success in the past. How about Lou City? Cannot find a way to counteract it. They've gone to 3. They're trying to overload the middle. It's becoming long ball right now, and it's playing right into the hands of the Riverhounds because they're just going to sit back and take it all day long.
So out of this hydration break, everybody trying to get their last wind here. And coming up on ESPN2, we have a ton of games for you that we're excited to share. On Monday, we get the Black Gold Derby. FC Tulsa, new brand, new ownership against OKC. And on Wednesday, we continue with Birmingham and Memphis. May see Tim Howard playing in that game. Orange County and Phoenix, so Western Conference final a couple years ago. On ESPN2, we continue Friday down in Tampa Bay, in St. Pete. And we'll continue over the weekend as well.
Neil Collins, the boys able to squeak one out last night.
Yeah.
Rowdy's coming back, little 2-1, the death of it. It's easy for us to sit here, Mike, and be critical. Obviously, it's our jobs, but there's so much to do. And it's difficult to really punch all the boxes right away. You know what I mean? I mean, look at how this has been for the Riverhounds in the second half. Polar opposite from the first. You say the same thing about Lou City. Lou City controlling the possession, creating chances. Outside of getting Cameron Lancaster involved and a bit more creativity out of Corbin Bone in that 10-type role, they were fantastic for about 40 minutes. And addition has never been my strong suit. We've talked about that, but 90-minute game, Pittsburgh Riverhounds find themselves exactly where they want to be in the driver's seat once again. Bob Lilly said they were unsuccessful in that Eastern Conference semifinal because they didn't apply enough pressure. They were chasing too much instead of allowing the game kind of come to them and dictating it on their own terms. Now
Corner.
they're up from 3-1. Go figure.
And the Riverhounds trying to add to it. Set piece, drops to the back post, off the head of James, and rolls out. Velarde couldn't control it. Let's go down to Tyler, who caught up with both coaches during the hydration break.
Two contrasting messages, obviously, guys, for John Hackworth and Louisville City. Was a lot of fire, a lot of passion, just finishing the game strong, trying to get one and seeing if they can scramble for an equalizer. Meanwhile, for Pittsburgh, Bob Lilly's message was actually quite surprising. He was trying to find passes, trying to string things together and supporting when they do play forward, especially the guys who have fresh legs. He urged the need to find feet to try to make Louisville work defensively and finish the game out.
Keel Watts gets it into the final third. McCabe touches further. Hopino tries to step back. Venke Azil. Hopino slides in, and the whistle is late, but arrives. Painful tackle there for Ryan James.
I have to love Bob Lilly with some of his comments, respectfully so. When we start up 2 goals and we start to go the other direction, we need to string together some passes. Thanks, Bob. I mean, we understand that. That's how you guys got here. So much better in the second half. The black and gold. What you thought would have been a fantastic homecoming for this Lou City squad opening this stadium. 10 minutes to go to rewrite the script. Definitely not going to plan. They have not been able to put anything together here in the second.
As it stands, it looks like a revenge for 253 days of misery. An Eastern Conference semifinal gone awry at Highmark Stadium. Tremendous crowd that night, and 118 minutes to find the game winner. Louisville was able to salt it away, then beat Indy in extra time, went to the final. Ball whipped across, and that heads into the Coopers.
There are opportunities here for Lou City, Mike. Just a second ago, Akil Watts trying to build out of the back. When he plays the ball into Niall McCabe, Opino sprinting down into the center. Akil Watts gets it right back, and he doesn't play it quick enough, so that window closes down. You play it the first time, pick up the rate of rapidity, and that's when the Riverhounds start to chase. The problem is, if you don't hit it and you take 2, 3, 4 touches, they are too good defensively. They shift back, they get back to their morals, and you end up on the wrong side of the ball.
Jordan Dover scored the first goal for Pittsburgh in this onslaught shortly before halftime. He's being stretched out a bit. The USL's elite pre-professional platform, USL Academy, allows clubs across the USL to build a pathway to pro soccer by bringing together top local youth talent. Following the success of the first Academy Cup events, clubs can now apply to participate in the USL Academy League, kicking off spring 2021. For more information, visit usl-academy.com or search hashtag USL Academy on social media. The concept of grassroots soccer growth in this country, sort of at the fore of that. There's far too many deserts where you can't achieve your dream being a professional soccer player. And with all the League Two, League One championship sides making an effort to push into this new academy setup, that's hopefully exactly what the doctor ordered. Speaking of the academy,
right on cue.
Jonathan Gomez is set to make his USL championship debut. Brian Ownby will check out. And Jonathan Gomez got time last year in League One with the champion North Texas SC. Steps in here.
It's crazy to think that in a country of 300+ million, we still struggle to find the talent. Obviously, we have to deal with a bit more sports than other countries do, at least what people strive for. Most Americans looking to the likes of NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, what have you. I mean, tennis, golf, you can say whatever you want. But you and I had the opportunity to pick the minds of the Brain Trust from Bayern Munich, and they revamped their entire academy back in the early teens, 2010, 2011 was it? And they talked about their frustration about how they weren't developing enough from within. So it's simple for us to sit here and talk about what goes on in this country, but the global game, the world's beautiful game, tells you the exact same thing if you just venture outside of the borders. Bayern Munich said we were spending too much in the transfer market. Redid the entire thing top to bottom. now just starting to reap the rewards. So it does take time, but you put the right pieces in place, it'll start to bear the fruit.
McCabe. Ball comes down. Gomez went up and didn't get much of that at all. And this looks like a really painful moment. And Gomez, just 16 years old, some pretty immense pain. Just moments into his USL Championship debut.
This looks like the full body of Tomas Gomez coming in, possibly having the wind knocked out of him, the way that they collide. Outside of that opening 5-10 minutes with Tomas Gomez, where we questioned his ability to come off the line, not in general, just in this game, he has been a wrecking ball. Look at him coming up. He's a bit late on the challenge, to be honest. Jogo trying to go after it. You can see just a delay by the netminder. Jonathan Gomez colliding right there inside, and welcome to USL Championship, young man. Just hope that he's okay, able to get up and shake that off.
He's back up and really struggling on his way off the field. John Hackworth told us this week he's just been fantastic for us. He also mentioned Elijah Winder is one of those young players that is about ready to peak out of the academy, perhaps. They have talked about how the pros here have helped keep them grounded as they try to join them on the first team. Ball across, could that sneak in? And Tomas Gomez able to yank it down. Bob Lilly, in speaking about the return to play in the USL, said a lot of moving parts. Certainly hope that we can be a positive. John Hackworth said he hoped this game would prove to be a beacon of hope to those watching. USL Championship season began in early March and then halted after a game with no fans in Tacoma the second week of March. Returned yesterday for the championship. It's a fly out and a goal kick to come for Pittsburgh as they try and put the finishing touches on this. Dev, you got the feeling Pittsburgh, they're excited to be on ESPN. I mean, you talked to Bob Lilly, he said there's a little fire there, a little added fuel.
Now you bring home the points as well. Remember, they didn't get the opportunity to play week one. Kind of on the bottom looking up. It's going to be no longer the case. Have one of those tricky groups. A bit lopsided in one area. I think it's easy to look and say New York Red Bull 2 and Pittsburgh Riverhounds move right through it given their success in the past and all their ability to retain those players. I promise you some of the other teams in that group have probably got something to say about it, adding to their arsenal. After they finish off here, they'll go on the road to Philadelphia Union 2. Little high boot, little handball, double-double. Interesting stretch, though, Mike. After the Philadelphia Union 2 game, you go home to Indy at Red Bull 2. That's what he was talking about. He's saying if we would have dropped points, against Lou City, they've got a better chance to get points in their second game. But 3 and 4, not easy. So he was trying to say to us, in the opening 4 matches, we might only get 3 points.
Masoso grabbing the back of his head. Dakota Barnathan has gone in the book. Forearm extending.
How about Louisville? Home again 8 in a row. Spoiled. Must be nice. This beautiful venue, get to go 8 in a row at home. I'm sure they'd like the result to be better. St. Louis Sporting Kansas City 2 twice, and then Indy comes to town. Martin Rennie and co. getting their job done yesterday, 2-0.
Yep. The 90th minute here. Rumor has it there's going to be plenty of stoppage time. Couple of injuries, three goals for Pittsburgh unanswered, but 2 inside the first 6 minutes of the second half after scoring right before stoppage time in the first half. And of course, hydration breaks. That's stretching our score bug as far as it'll stretch. 10 added minutes.
Any surprises for you so far, Mike, either in this match or the scores around the league? Put the thinking cap on.
Yes,
stay with me.
Surprise maybe isn't the word.
Yeah.
But I think, San Diego going to Real Monarchs is really a good sign for them.
On the surface, you need to beat the defending champs, with that quotes of sorts. They missing a lot of players, Real Monarchs.
Yep. We're at Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. It is the opening game, and there are fans in the stands. Capacity capped at 30%, and we've seen the vast majority of the fans here take the appropriate precautions that the league has asked them to take. It's a 3-1 Pittsburgh lead. Louisville scored the opening goal at this new venue, about 15,000 seats. Incredible $60 million project. Speedy Williams back in the 18th minute of play, and then Pittsburgh simply overwhelmed them. Really starting in the 40th minute, Dover, Mertz, and Velarde have scored. And the Riverhounds a chance. In a Group F, they are projected by most observers to either win or finish runners-up, a 5-team group where the top 2 will make the playoffs at the end of this 16-game, 13-week season. They'll move to the top with their first game of the season. Louisville is closing in on what would be a loss following an opening week win back in March against North Carolina FC. Cameron Lancaster scored the game winner in that game. And in their very complex group, Group E, certainly not the start they were looking for. They'll have 8 games on ESPN2 in the opening 2 weeks of the season and plenty more on ESPN Deportes. Full schedule over on USLChampionship.com. One goal could maybe change the narrative here. This will deflect out. And Louisville's got to fly to have any chance here against this staunch Pittsburgh defense laid on. Corner for Oscar Jimenez. Soso circles back, seeks the run of Jimenez. Away by Dover. Forrest was in an offside position. Hopino for Louisville. Velarde is down. We may go skipping past 100 minutes.
I'm not really sure I can count that high, Mike. I think it's easy for the fans to get frustrated here. Brand new home. Team not playing up to their liking. Of course, the scoreboard not what you want it to look like, and guys are going down, but give these players a break, to be honest. Again, they have not been back at it full-time for very long. And it's not exactly the coolest of days in Louisville. This result surprises me, by the way, in case you were wondering. When I asked you, I thought maybe you would reciprocate back. Apparently, it's just a take relationship, not give and take now.
Are you surprised, Evan?
I'm surprised, Mike.
As Fernandez comes on here.
To be clear, I'm not surprised that the Riverhounds won this match. I'm surprised in the manner in which they did it and by the scoreline. More than capable of bagging goals, but on the road, opening new stadium, just kind of everything kind of lined up for Lou City, especially after the opening goal, to just put this away.
It seemed like that goal almost provoked Pittsburgh into being the aggressor moving forward. It maybe took a few minutes longer, but you heard it from Bob Lilly shortly after the goal was scored.
2019 final, Real Monarchs. Tell me Lou City didn't control the opening 15, 20 minutes. They get their goal and then took a backseat to basically the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You play catch up. It's very difficult to do. The difference between that was they run into an injury with Abdou Jam. You only have 3 subs. Mm-hmm. You made a change and then had to react to an injury, so you got yourself into trouble. Here you have 5. Could have made some changes, but you go down 2 goals to the Riverhounds. Most people don't ever come back from that.
No. Barnathan sprays it wide. James.
Imagine the fitness test for Bob Lilly.
You're watching it right now.
I mean, you're doing Man United's across the 18. They're bringing back the beep test.
Yep.
He's dusting off his watch for the Cooper, the outdated test. Not interested in that, my friend.
This is a guy who just finds players out of nowhere, but they work so hard for him. You've described it almost like an apprenticeship. I mean, we've seen guys come into Pittsburgh a year or two. They drastically improved their stock, and in the past, a handful of them have moved on and gone on to pretty green pastures elsewhere.
On the other side of that argument, you get guys like Canado Forbes.
Absolutely.
6-year going all the way back to Rochester. Throw Ryan James into the mix. Yes, spent some time with Nashville. Jordan Dover, another one of those boys that followed him over since the 2017 season. There is something to be said about the comfortability when you find something with a manager to be able to maintain that. No matter the city that they're coaching in, and you feel comfortable with them, it opens up so many different facets of your game that, quite honestly, Mike, you didn't necessarily know were available to you. The trade becomes totally different, and tactically, these guys' minds start to expand more than anything you've ever seen because of the likes of Bob Lilly. John Hackworth does the same thing. We're obviously just giving a little bit of praise right now based upon the scoreline.
Yeah. And an outright great performance out of a Pittsburgh side that, by their own admission, had a inconsistent preseason. There's not a lot of praise on our chat with Bob Lilly about how the preseason went. There were injuries that were nagging, and they just didn't get on the roll they were looking for. But they felt like the last 2 weeks quite positive, and it is bore out on national TV for everybody to see.
You go on the road under this situation that we're all dealing with. Give them what, 55 minutes quality football coming out of Pittsburgh Riverhounds? You figure they turned it on in the 35th minute or so in the first half? 55 quality minutes on the road at Lou City. That doesn't usually get you 3 goals.
Gomez. Spencer dummied it through. Masoso, there's a bit of confusion there with Lancaster. Menez. And launched away by Forbes. There have been fans in various USL Championship venues over the course of this opening weekend. But certainly no number of fans quite like this just over 4,800 in attendance. And so much has happened over these last 4 months in the city of Louisville, across the United States. I just wanted to allow this to be a socially distanced beacon of hope. It was really the word we got from the Louisville City staff in the lead up to this. As it stands, it's Pittsburgh who's given tremendous hope for their team's title hopes this year. Final seconds here. Lynn Family Stadium opens with a goal for Louisville, and Pittsburgh show their absolute class and press Louisville into submission over what amounts to the final 60 minutes. Was an injury in stoppage time, so maybe that 10 minutes just a little bit short.
Just don't forget to punch your time card.
Spencer. Pompano trying to slip around. James ushers it all the way out. And Pittsburgh playing for the first time in 253 days since an Eastern Conference semifinal shock defeat against Louisville in Pittsburgh, go away to Lynn Family Stadium and spoil the party. A 3-1 victory for the Riverhounds. Bob Lilly and his side come in with the perfect tactical plan to knock off this Lou City side who have been to the final 3 years in a row. We'll wrap this one up when we return. Riverhounds 3, Lou City 1. Pittsburgh goes into Louisville and knocks off the reigning Eastern Conference playoff champion, the #1 seed a year ago, with a 3-1 win at Lynn Family Stadium in its debut game. Bob Lilly, the victorious head coach, with Tyler Terrence on the field.
Riverhounds got off to a shaky start in the first 30 minutes or so, but Coach, you guys were able to rattle off 3 unanswered goals. What was the difference after the first hydro break in the first half?
I just think, you know, we had to take some risk. We were absorbing a lot of pressure. It was only going to get worse. So the goal at the end of the first half was really important, and we could kind of regroup at halftime. We had a good start to the second half, and, you know, we hung on with a few injuries, and it was just a gutsy performance. Obviously, we rode our luck a little bit, and Louisville will get better. I think we will as well. You know, it's an uncertain time with fitness and all these things, but just feel fortunate to get a big win here in Louisville.
I mean, you mentioned the gutsy performance. It was always a tough task after a 4-month break and coming into this new palace of football in Louisville and spoiling the party. What can you say about this group and coming in here and getting this result?
Well, the last couple of years, we've kind of been at the top in the regular season with the Louisvilles and some of the others, Indies, and, you know, we want to be a top team, so you got to be able to win some big games against the best opponents. And, you know, I'm proud of the guys today. We had a lot of turnover, but they performed today with a lot of heart. We'll have to get better in a lot of aspects, but it was a great 3 points to start the season for us.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bob Lilly called this a comprehensive exam, passed with flying colors, A+. Let's go back to the 18th minute. First goal at Lynn Family Stadium is a Louisville goal. That's where the good news stops for the home side.
Flying start for Lou City FC. Speedy Williams off the beautiful little touch from Corbin Bone. We talked about it time and time again, how good they are on restarts and second chance opportunities. They get 1, 2, 3, 4. That's never going to happen, unfortunately. Pittsburgh Riverhounds made the adjustments. Now this one comes out to just individual brains by 2 guys. Watch King Kenny. Kennardo Forbes drop all the way down in, finding the back post run. Dover, beautiful. When you take a look, Mike, at the adjustments that needed to be made coming out at halftime, you need to get your playmakers on the ball. Bob Lilly just told you they were absorbing too much pressure. He was asking them to push their line higher. Guess what? Not only did the line come, more mistakes from Lou City came as well. Robbie Mertz in the 46th minute. Mensa getting involved. And Velarde as well in the 51st. There's a 6-minute span that stretches between the first and second half. Mensa's in on this once again. They go up by 2 goals, get them to 3-1. You cannot give them that much real estate or that many mistakes, because once they make you pay, they're going to make you chase. They just sit back, and now you can absorb the pressure. Now you can basically say anything that you want to do and tell this game, hey, you're coming to us this time.
Well, in the end, it's a remarkable result here for Pittsburgh on the road. Devin, we talk about Bob Lilly ad nauseum around this league, and it shows again.
Yeah, he seems to find a way. The chameleon that always changes his style, changes his philosophy. You can play 7 at the back, you can play 2 at the back, but he finds a way to win. How about Lou City, though? Interesting when you look at the metrics that they brought to the table. Corbin Bone, John Hackworth said that he was going to be one of their playmakers in the middle of the field. Only got 26 touches on the ball. Cameron Lancaster, only 14 touches on the ball. These are the guys that you're looking to really be your offensive threats in the final third. They just never got them going. They started to chase the game. You start making your own mistakes. Bob Lilly makes you pay.
All right, well, we've got a great 2 weeks coming up for you here on ESPN2 and ESPN Deportes. A ton of games. Devin, one reason, OKC Tulsa. Why?
Black Gold Derby.
Absolutely. For our entire Vista WorldLink team, led by producer Sharni Yerke, director Gage Tillotson, Mike Friedman, Michael Cohen, Tyler Terrence on the sideline, Devin Kerr alongside. Mike Watts saying, thanks for watching. Louisville gets the first goal. Pittsburgh gets the last 3. Riverhounds win in the debut of Lynn Family Stadium.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.